Laipply Podcast.
The habits of the left when they are out of power is to just keep throwing lawnmowers or throwing rocks at glass houses, whatever you want to say. But they know it's not true. They know I'm not a racist, but they'd call me one. They know I'm not a fascist, but they'd call me one. But it's more important that I know I'm not one. And what's really more important, I think, for Republicans in general now is to understand that Donald Trump's not standing in the gap anymore. He can't protect us anymore. They dished out everything they could give him. They tried to kill him. They tried to kill him twice. They tried to imprison him for life. They tried to impeach him twice. He stood there bravely and took everything of it. And we all voted for him because he was still standing at the end of the day. We actually voted for him because of the left. So they got what they got their own desserts. But now they're after us. There's a guy in Virginia who got elected who thinks he should actually kill his opponent's children. This is shocking to me. That's not the world I grew up in, and I can't believe that actually happened. I can't believe there's that many people in Virginia that would vote that way. I actually may not believe that there's that many people in Virginia that voted that way. I don't know how it's possible, but there it is. And as long as that's what's going on, then they've kind of lost the plot, but they're so angry they're gonna try to win it back. And we have to stand there knowing that it's Donald Trump can't protect us anymore. We have to do it ourselves.
I can tell you something else about the terrorists who held me captive. There was one man they feared the most. President Donald Trump. When he was elected, the way they treated me changed completely. They were terrified of him. And I want to state this clearly so the whole world hears it now. On behalf of the hostages, our families, and our nation, thank you, President Donald Trump, for our freedom. He fought for us. He brought us home.
You know, when that much money disappears, it's usually because somebody broke some laws somewhere. But if we don't look, if we don't ask, if we don't uncover it and make it all public, we'll never find out.
We are here to fight back.
What about Democrats on Democrats? Democrats' net approval rating of congressional Democrats. I want you to keep in mind, they had never rated Democrats negatively until this year. And right now, what are we talking about? We're talking about a net approval rating from Democrats. This is Democrats on Democrats. Their approval rating is actually lower than the disapproval rating. And that is quite the drop from October. I think during the shutdown, there was a bit of a boost for Democrats, right? There was a rallying around the flag effect going on. But Democrats did not like how that shutdown turned out. They have returned against Democrats in Congress. And you mentioned Dan Goldman in that intro. One of the reasons that Dan Goldman is in trouble right now in a potential primary against Brad Ladner is because at this point, the Democratic base is so upset with Democrats.
Check this thing out, okay? This is the total inflation since January of 2019. Trump leaves office. Nearly 30% increase since 2019. Your dollar from January of 2019 is worth 70 cents today. That's the pain. So let's break down where the bulk of that pain came from. You see this line right here? That's where Trump 45 left office and Biden came in. Carry that over to the next line. This is all Biden's presidency. And this is where Trump came back in. So this is a 22% rise during Joe Biden for the cost to live. Now, this 2%, 2.7% number, that's what they're talking about. This represents the part of the graph for the number that came out today, which all things considered is pretty good, even though it outperformed the estimates of supposed to be 3.1%. And the left wants to make it seem that Trump's tariffs are to blame for this 22% inflation that happened before the tariffs.
The spectacle is important because a message has to be sent to everybody else. We're not going to put up, you've been elected by people to uphold the law, and some of the laws that have been most flagrantly violated in this country are immigration laws. You've got to get on board with upholding all the laws, not just
Let
the
me
ones you like.
respond, Scott. You know what's going to happen? If this goes to a jury, and it's not, it ain't going to make it to a jury. If this goes to a jury, I've done 100 trials, you're going to have an acquittal and jury nullification.
Breaking news closer to home tonight, a jury found Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan guilty of obstruction. She was accused of helping an undocumented immigrant evade federal agents. Jury deliberations began today. Dugan did not testify in her own defense.
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Come on. I'm sicker than your average. I'm a twist cabbage on instinct.
All right, Friday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. As always, be blessed in the mighty name of Jesus. This is our last podcast until after the new year, off all of next week, all of the week after. You know, why do that? Because it's just really gets scattered because you have Monday, Tuesday, and then it's Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day, then Friday, and then the following, and then of course New Year's Eve is the following Wednesday, so it just gets really choppy. Plus, you know, people have to have a day off at some point, and Aaron and I are not ones for taking days off.
True.
But some point in time we got to do it. But anyway, so last one until I can't remember what it's that Monday after New Year's, so 4th or something like that, I think it is. But anyway, that's when we will be back. So anyway, hopefully it'll be nice and calm, and everybody can have a nice holiday Christmas season. So anyway, let me say it. What?
The 5th.
The 5th.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, wow. All the way to the 5th.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, let me say to everybody in the chat. Let me see here. You know, I'm going to go from bottom to top. I'm going to see if I can keep up with you guys. All right. JGCK is on. Guitar Glenn is on. Big Jim Go Blue is on. Wait Away is on. General Plowman is on. Robin Aroni is on. Mr. Cool Dude is on. You guys are beating me. K4 VMS is on. Let me see here. USA Abbey Girl is on. JD Joy is on. I had to stop it. You guys won. Rum Pierre 1 is on. I had to scroll up down with my finger. Drumming for Jesus is on. N. Johns 127 is on. Jim Brody is on. Uncle Wally is on. Peg McGroin is on. Rum Pierre is on. Jules, 21 hours, already $50 in the chat. Thank you so much, Jules. She's my friend from church. Love you. Appreciate you. Keeper 1376 is on. If I didn't say it already, JGCK is on. Let me see here. Mike Griffith is on, another friend of mine from church. Appreciate him. Let me see here. Some of you guys, I know you go to church. I don't know who you are because I don't know who you are in the chat yet. But anyway, let me see here. Louanne 5 is on. Buckeye Nut 1968 is on. Robin Aroni is on. I think I got you already, but I'm going to say it anyway. One of the classics, Urinator, is on. K4 VMS is on. Milwaukee James is on. Let me see here. Scrolling down. Find somebody. Stephen Toms is on. In honor of Brent here tonight and our final show before Christmas, the one and only Release the Hog is on. Let me see here. Scrolling down. Snag Dog is on. Granite 2468. Miss you guys in church, by the way. Love you. Sad you moved away. Hansley Donovan is on. Conservative Warrior 65 is on. N. Johns 127 is on. Buckeye Nut 1968 is on. I know I'm hitting some of you twice, but I can't remember whether I said you or not. Aggravain is on. Patrina C is on. Iron Maiden Man is on. Let's go right back at you. Appreciate you. Charlie 340 is on. Thunderbolt is on. Let me see. Scrolling down here. Find somebody I haven't seen yet. A couple more. The great T1AU is on. Let me see here. Grab one or two more here. Always Under Pressure 70 times 7 is on. That's a new one. Love you. Appreciate you. Glad you're on. Let me see here. Let me grab one more I haven't seen yet here. Oh, I just screwed it up. Oh, D9597. Love you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. All right, let's hop to this now. Let's sum up we have the whole Brown shooting, quote unquote, resolved. And also appears to be the same shooter at MIT and the MIT professor. So anyway, It was very odd from the beginning. It turned out that the suspect, the initial suspect, wasn't the suspect. Although, how can you really prove that? I don't know. I don't know if you can really ever prove anything these days. Because when everybody's masked, and that was all allowed during COVID by the globalist left and Democratic Party. But anyway, so everybody's masked now. I mean, why are you masked walking down the street? Nobody thinks anything about it anymore. I mean, I do because I hate it so much. I mean, I struggle with not hating people who wear masks. I don't let myself. But so you have people masked on the street. So how do we really know who's who? I mean, how do you really know? But anyway, so they traced the rental car and everything else. But anyway, Red Wave Press video, new Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced that she is immediately directing the USCIS to pause the diversity, let's just love the names of these programs, Diversity Immigrant Visa Program. Whenever the word diversity is attached to anything, it is a giant pile of whatever sort of excrement you want it to be. After the Brown University shooter, of course, with 4 names, Claudio Manuel Neves Valente entered the U.S. through this program in 2017. Play it for me.
And yesterday, Lawrence, what you're referring to is that we learned that this suspect entered the U.S. through what's called the Diversity Lottery Immigrant Visa Program in 2017 and was granted a green card as a result. And yesterday, Kristi Noem says that program has officially been suspended. She posted this on X in part. In 2017, President Trump fought to end this program following the devastating New York City truck ramming by an ISIS terrorist who entered under the DV-1 program and murdered 8 people. At President Trump's direction, I am immediately directing USCIS to pause the DV-1 program to ensure no more Americans are harmed by this disastrous program. And this is a program, it's a lottery where about 50,000 immigrants from various countries around the world are selected via computer system to come into this country. I actually know somebody from Nepal who came in this way, and he says that he was shocked when this happened to him, and he didn't even know exactly how his name was entered into this computer system. It changed his life as a result, and he's doing great work here now. But the president has always said merit-based is better. This is a diversity system, so he wanted to change it in 2017, and now it's suspended today.
Yeah, in September 14th, they said he went from a diversity immigrant visa, and then they said he was lawfully admitted as a legal permanent resident at JFK Airport back in 2017. He ends up in Miami, sadly, this professor, same age, same time, former classmates, that family probably knows about him, but they had the professor that was killed, who evidently is a genius, was killed with his family, with his kids upstairs. So he gets assassinated. And Lawrence, to your point, I know investigations aren't easy, but did they put their foot off the gas?
They did. I mean, it's not even debatable.
Right. So they put the foot off the gas, and then they told everyone, "Don't worry about it. You're not in danger." Clearly, these people were in danger.
Right.
You want a crazed gunman out there, and then the next thing you know, the professor's dead on Monday. If they're able to pivot a different direction, a more accurate direction, if they're able to get to the building quicker before the shooting stopped, or close to when the shooting stopped, and not 10, 20 minutes, maybe that professor's alive today.
Kill Me closes it out with criticizing how the entire investigation was handled, how the security was handled, and we could have spent 30 minutes doing that right now, but we've already done it ad nauseum, so I'm not going to do it, even though it enrages me. But anyway, you just look at this. You look at what one of the hosts said on the show there, the female host in the middle. She said that she had a friend from Nepal who was admitted to the United States via the Diversity Immigrant Visa Program, who had no idea how he even got on the list. How does this happen? Aaron, can you explain to me? How does this happen? People are admitted into the country. By the way, this is the exact same thing as the Biden parole program. They're flying everybody into this country because people / NGOs who then give that money, then funnel that money to Democrats. The NGOs make money off of these programs. They're basically putting people on lists who don't even know that they're on the list to be imported into this country. It's amazing. But anyway, you look at what happened here. It's a very strange thing too. If you caught it there, can't remember which host was talking about it. I can't remember whether it was Kill Me or the other guy. But anyway, they're talking about what's his stupid name again? Claudio Valente here, the assassin Valente. He initially came in under the Diversity Immigrant Visa Program. And again, why do we even let people into the country? I mean, even legally. Aaron, give me a legally.
Legally?
I mean, really, seriously. I mean, why? I mean, people, we have to have them. Do we really? At this point, do we really need to even allow legal immigration? I'm not going to attack legal immigration. Problem with legal immigration is that it's not, the numbers are not what they appear to be because of chain migration. Because what happens is, and you've heard this ad nauseum on this podcast, but not many people talk about it. The legal migration is, if you allow one, it can be up to 10 because of chain migration. Because if you allow one guy or one girl in here, husband, wife, kids, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, they're all allowed in too. So when they say they allow in over 1 million illegals per year, understand that's really up to 4 million per year. Per year. And everybody thinks we still have 320 million people in this country. You've lost your mind. We have over 400 million. I guarantee it, with illegals and legals in here. But anyway, so why? I don't understand why it is. I understand the best of the best. And Trump's program to bring in Taiwanese engineers to build chips. I get all that. But basically everything else, why? Why don't you just go make your country great? Why don't you go make your country great instead of moving over here? But anyway, and again, I'm not going to attack legal immigration. It is what it is. I believe, though, and I can't remember which politician advocates for this, but I do believe in a moratorium on legal immigration for 4 years. I don't think we should allow anybody in this country for 4 years. Yeah, enough is enough. $38 trillion in debt. And one other thing that was very strange in that dissertation given by the Fox News crew there is they talked about Valente was allowed, the assassin was allowed in the country under this program, Diversity Immigrant Visa Program, but then suddenly he was admitted at JFK Airport as a legal permanent resident. How does that happen? How do you get it? How do they have some sort of office? Now this is all facetious. Okay, JFK, everybody knows, just simply an airport. How does he suddenly transfer or even transition from being in the Diversity Immigrant Visa Program to being a legal permanent resident at the airport? Can you explain that to me, Aaron?
Nope.
Okay, I'm open because Aaron's the only one. Aaron and Brad, the only ones I can see. I'm like, I would just love for somebody to explain to me how it is that he transitions to a permanent legal United States resident at the airport. It's a glorious system that we have. Why anybody would have any respect for anything, quote unquote, federal is beyond me. I love local cops. I can't stand federal cops. Most useless human beings, social worker, idiots on the planet. All right, change the subject. Let's go to Australia. So that covers that shooting, and then we'll close out the shooting in Australia. Chris Mate Video, reporter, is asking, of course, the genius, the leader of Australia, Anthony Albanese, who looks like he's going to drop dead at any minute, by the way. Reporter, is radical Islam the greatest domestic security threat Australia faces? Play for me.
To follow on Ruben's question, is radical Islam, in your view, the greatest domestic security threat Australia faces?
Well, the assessments are that that is one of the issues that we're dealing with. But I want to deal with all of the threats, whether it be extremist perversions of Islam leading to support for the ideology promoted by ISIS, whether it be also concerned about the issue of sovereign citizens killing police in Victoria and Queensland. I'm concerned about neo-Nazis thinking it's okay to march down our streets dressed in black, not worrying about their faces being covered, explicitly promoting that as well. Some of these things are not new.
Yeah, it's kind of good, Anthony, that people aren't concerned about having their faces covered. And how about that? Because everybody that supports his policies covers their face. I wonder why that is. But I mean, let's go back in time here to all the attacks in Australia and anywhere around the globe of sovereign citizens and neo-Nazis, with the exception of the Azov Battalion in Ukraine, which Anthony Albanese loves to fund. Funny, isn't it? I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, you could send it to me. Maybe you're a leftist, you watch this right now. Send it to me on any of my accounts. Just go to Tom Laipply on any of my accounts. Send it to me. I would love to track the horrendous global pandemic of sovereign citizen terrorist attacks. How about Nazi terrorist attacks? Can anybody even name one? Listen, I'm 57 years old. I'm trying to think. Has there been one? Aaron's what, 32?
Yeah.
Brent, how old are you?
36.
All right, so Brent's 36. So we got 36, 32, and 57. Can you guys name any? Sovereign citizen terrorist attacks?
No.
Where they open fire on a crowd of Jews or any other group? Anyway, anybody? I mean, how about neo-Nazi attacks?
Nope. No.
Okay, skinheads?
Nope.
Okay, neither. White people? Any white people committing terrorist attacks? I'm just curious. I mean, because it's always white supremacist terrorists are always the focus of all these governments. The people who do not commit any of the attacks are the ones constantly being attacked by the government. I'm just curious. And by the way, I said white people. Well, I don't outside of black on white crime problem in the United States. I don't see blacks committing terrorist acts either. Okay, so the problem is Islam. I mean, I'm talking about terrorist acts, not crime. I know there's one and the same to a degree, but we have to operate in genres here. But anyway, so why in the world would you, as Anthony Albanese, focus on people who have never committed any crimes and ignore the people who are committing the crimes? Because, of course, and again, you go superficial and you go actual. What is actually happening? Superficially, like, he's dumb. You know, he's a leftist. He's focusing on right wingers to disarm them, whatever it may be. That's superficial and right, though. Still correct, because it's actually part of a narrative, greater agenda, which is to attack your own citizenry so that and bring in mass migrations of low IQ, inbred Islamists, bring them in the country because they're very easily governed. And by the way, if you ever notice, Islam never wins wars. They never win wars. You ever notice that? I mean, wouldn't you think after all this time that they'd be able to compete with the United States? I mean, seriously, or how about this? How about compete with Israel? They can't. None of them. I mean, they've had all this time, all this oil, trillions and trillions of dollars have flown into their coffers, and they cannot build anything close to the United States. They're just terrible. They're a terrible army. They're a terrible fighting force. So bring them all in. They're very easily globally governed. That's why monsters like Albanese are flooding his own country to destroy the heritage of his own country, whether it's white, black, indigenous. They have the Aboriginals, the Aboriginal culture there also, destroying them all via the problem he refuses to even acknowledge. They just foiled another bombing attack in Australia, literally 5 days after the shooting at Bondi Beach. And it was another Islamist. And here you have Albanese talking about sovereign citizens. Were they the one behind the bombing attack? I mean, and again, he's doing it on purpose. He's not stupid. I mean, he is stupid, but he's doing it on purpose. And wokeness video, Australian PM Albanese, hundreds, and I'll frame it this way. So what is the solution to their Islamic terrorist problem? Play it for me.
We expect hundreds of thousands of firearms will be collected and destroyed through this scheme. Consistent with the approach that was taken in 1996, the government is proposing that states and territories will be responsible for the collection, processing and payment to individuals for surrendered firearms. The Australian Federal Police will then be responsible for the destruction of these firearms.
So once again, the firearms, I guess, march there themselves and open fire. No, the people who actually committed the crime, who used the guns, are the ones that Albanese allows into the country. That's what happened. That's why there's no need to allow them in the country. You realize if you look at the rape rate in Sweden, that's up, 30, 40%, that all the women that wouldn't have been raped if it wasn't for the Swedish leadership, all the women that wouldn't be raped in the UK if it wasn't for Keir Starmer, not to mention that he covered up 15 years worth of pedophilic rape. Weird. I mean, it's just, these are these people. And to this day, Christians and conservatives, thank you, Aaron, that's brilliant. Christians and conservatives still act like these people are your leaders. Look at this, rapes for 100,000. What is the difference between Poland and everybody else? They have a closed border.
Yep.
So Poland has one rape per 100,000 women. One. That's one too many. But look at Australia. Austria. That's Austria and Australia. I wish it was Australia. But anyway, look at Austria, 25. Look at the UK, 117. Sweden, 84. And look at this. So Poland, England has 117 times the amount of Poland.
Yeah.
Rapes. 117 times the rapes that Poland has. And what bugs me is that left-tard women vote for these idiots and then get raped by the people they vote into the country. I don't know if they'd vote for him again afterwards. I hope not. All right, I could get off on this all night. I just can't. And by the way, one other thing on this. One other thing. First of all, did you hear what he said? His gun buyback, he actually called it a scheme. Sometimes the demons just can't help but speak the truth.
Yeah.
His buyback scheme. This is really, so this again, okay. So he's concerned about neo-Nazis. Who was it that confiscated all the firearms? That would be the Nazis, moron. And this guy loves to ban speech. Who bans the speech? Nazis. He's so concerned about neo-Nazis. He is one. Because the demons are the same demons. The demons are eternal. Your soul's eternal. God's eternal. The angels are eternal. Everybody's eternal. Same exact demons from the 1930s and 40s that came up with all of the totalitarianism around World War II and World War I. They're just doing the same thing now. They're using different tactics, but really it's the same, to use his word, schemes. It's just different tactics. To usher in totalitarianism, you use compassion. By saying, you know what, we're trying to keep kids safe, so everybody needs a online ID now. I mean, again, I could lapse into this for an hour. I'm not going to do it. The last thing I want to say is, how about this freaking uptalk? Do they all go to some sort of conference? Do they go and then have breakout sessions about how to uptalk? And, we have conducted these assessments, whatever it may be. I mean, and again, you listen to all these ARC church pastors. They talk the exact same way. They must all go to some sort of globalist conference and learn how to uptalk. It's so freaking annoying. You want to hear down talk? Come to Foundation Church. I'll down talk you. There you go. All right, here we go. All right, let's switch this up. So let's go from Australia to another totalitarian regime in the state of Minnesota. All right, Geiger Capital tweet. This is insane. U.S. Attorney's Office of Minnesota now thinks that tens of billions.
Oh, no.
So now we've gone from 1 billion to 2 billion to 6 billion. 6 billion was yesterday, day before, early this week. Now it's tens of billions. They're missing out of Tampon Tim's, Minnesota. It's as if everybody went to Minnesota because it is a conduit of fraud, which it is. The magnitude can't be understated. What we see in Minnesota is not a few bad actors committing crimes. This is an industrial scale fraud, more than half of these programs. Go to the next for me. Here's the pick from CBS News, forced to report the truth. That's what I love. Minnesota has become a magnet for fraud. Why is that? Now, again, CBS News is now being run by Barry Weiss. Okay, Barry Weiss, very quickly, is a very, very pro-Israel lesbian woman. However, she is an excellent investigative journalist who has exposed some major things under the Biden administration. So it's like, what do you do with people like this?
Yeah.
When they have to tell the truth, you applaud them. When they don't, you attack them. That's what you do. Not physically, but you know what I mean. All right, so Minnesota has become a magnet for fraud, so much so that we have developed a fraud terrorism industry. People coming to our state purely to exploit and defraud its programs. Thompson said, this is a deeply unsettling reality that all Minnesotans should understand. How? Under the horrid leadership of Tampon Tim Walz. And people vote for this guy over and over again. I mean, even if you're a leftist, how can you vote to have your pocket picked? How do you vote to be kicked in the nads every day just because they're a Democrat? Let's go to the next one. Minnesota House GOP rapid response video breaking. Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson, that's who was speaking there on the CBS quote, exposes the true level of fraud in Minnesota. Every day we look under a rock and find a new, get this, $50 million fraud scheme in one state. Play it for me.
Yes, we're looking into all those programs, yes.
And as you look across the country, are there any other examples where the cost of Medicaid-funded programs saw this kind of exponential growth? Is Minnesota clearly an outlier when you look at spending on these programs across the board?
I think we're an outlier in a bad way, yes. Have I gone through every 50 state? No, but you don't see fraud on this scale in other states. And part of that is just we sit here as a team, and it's a relatively small team or a relatively small U.S. Attorney's Office, and every day we look under a rock and find a new $50 million fraud scheme. That shouldn't be the case in a state of our size. Certainly other states have problem with frauds, but I think our problem is unique insofar as we've just opened the door. What we aren't seeing here, traditional Medicare or Medicaid fraud is people overbilling, upcoding. So you're instead of billing for a service with a relatively modest reimbursement, you claim to be providing a higher dollar value service, and you get more Medicaid payments or reimbursements that you should be entitled to. That's traditional. You may be getting 20% more. You're padding your bills. What we see here, and what I think is unique to Minnesota, is that's not what we're looking at. What we're seeing is programs that are just entirely fraudulent. These aren't companies that are providing some services but overbilling Medicare or Medicaid. These are companies that are providing essentially no services. They're essentially shell companies created to defraud the program, created to submit on a wholesale level fraudulent claims for services that aren't necessary and aren't provided. I think that's unique to Minnesota.
So usually it's like overbilling. That's Medicaid fraud and food stamps fraud, all those different things. The COVID fraud, whatever, overbilling. No, they just create entire institutions. Hey, side by side that, would you? It's entire institutions under this guy's watch. And by the way, he knew all about it. He's been caught knowing all about it. And he went, you know what? Let's just ignore it because I don't want to be called Islamophobic. He didn't receive any money from it. Maybe campaign donations, but he just ignored it because he didn't want to be called Islamophobic. Just like Keir Starmer ignored a decade and a half worth of low IQ, inbred Pakistani rapists who are raping 14-year-old UK citizens because he didn't want to be called Islamophobic. By the way, it's not because they don't want to be called Islamophobic. That is the superficial characterization. It's actually because they're ushering in an agenda. But anyway, see, Tampon Tim knew all about it. Turned a blind eye to it. It's on the record. It's already known. Now, whether it's criminal or not, I don't know. But he turned a blind eye to it. For me, it is criminal. But normally it's overbilling. No, they are creating entire institutions of fraud. It is institutionalized fraud. And if you saw the graphic behind Thompson there, the assistant U.S. attorney, Joe Thompson, you saw it was $18 billion in this guy's state. Totally under Tampon Tim Walz. And by the way, all of its Somalis that he keeps saying are the absolute bedrock of our communities, these Somali people. Listen, part of Somali, you just have to acknowledge what is part of somebody's culture. Part of the Somali culture is war and fraud. Yep. And a lot of that money went back to Somalia they have warlords everywhere, so to support your local warlord and support your local terrorist regime. So anyway, let's go back to Minnesota for just a minute. Marco Foster video. Tim Walz on Trump. Talking about Trump's, it seems like I'm shifting topics, but I'm not, because he's talking about healthcare. A lot of the fraud in Minnesota. Imagine having the chutzpah, the audacity to give a speech, because this week, after they found $18 billion worth of healthcare, mainly healthcare fraud, in your state, and now you're going to go lecture somebody else about how to conduct healthcare policy. That's what it means to be a Democrat in 2025. Marco Foster video. Play for me.
Here we are in 2025. The quote, and I believe he made it in St. Cloud when he was there, healthcare will be easy. I can fix it on day one. He is a damn fool. And everybody who deals with healthcare knows that is. And I don't understand where the outrage is around this, because there's nothing. And the idea for every single person sitting in this room and every single person listening and reading, the idea that he is going to give you the money and you're going to go out there and buy this healthcare is the stupidest assessment of healthcare that I have ever heard out of someone in a position of authority. We've been working on this for decades. Everyone knows that is absolutely not true. But apparently now that's the plan. Spoken by some.
I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz.
So there you go. I had to tag that on at the end. Did everybody hear what Walz was saying? Let's cover a couple of things that he said. Just two things off that video. He said that how asinine it was, and he said like some cuss words or whatever, or a cuss word. He said that Trump was basically stupid because he's giving the money to United States citizens to buy their own insurance. Now, he says that is like we're all a bunch of morons and we can't buy our own insurance. Here's the thing. I've never not bought my own insurance. I don't even know what it is to have subsidized insurance. I have no idea, but because he has to make sure that he gives gifts to his 90,000 Somali population, because how Islamists work is they group together and they own an area and they own a constituency and they own a jurisdiction. It makes it impossible to win without them, because you can't win the district without them. You can't win the mayoralship. You can't win the school board. That's what they do. So anyway, So he's pandering to them. We can't buy our own insurance. And by the way, what Trump's talking about here, he may be talking about literal checks for a period of time. I don't know. But how about we just abolish the ACA, which is, again, has funneled. We put up the stats the other night about where like United Health has gone. They used to be like like $100 a share, or no, it was less than that. And now they're $600 and something a share. So I mean, they've gone up, and they were worth $30 billion. Now they're worth $600 billion. All these different numbers. And Ford Motor Company's worth $50 billion. That shows you how huge they are. And that's all coming from the federal government giving our money to insurance companies who then decide how to disperse it to mainly people who refuse to work and buy their own insurance. And that's what happens. And that's why you end up with these basically, healthcare committees and whatever else that are like, you get that procedure, you don't get that procedure. You get that because they're going to save as many of those trillions that they've gotten as they possibly can. And they are getting wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. Tim wants to continue that. Why? Because he financially benefits from it. He either gets it in his campaign or he gets it in his pocket or his family members benefit off of it. So he will screw everybody over to make sure and bankrupt the country, which again makes no sense, to get his money. Again, makes no sense to bankrupt the country to get your money because once the country's bankrupted, your money don't mean anything. So he wants to do that. And plus, did you hear the other absolutely asinine thing the man said? He says, basically, we've been working to fix this for decades. Anybody working on fixing anything for decades is either doesn't want to fix it or they're an idiot. They're an idiot. Okay, ask yourself, all those of you that have ever had anybody work for you or have ever employed anybody, if I tasked Aaron, if the camera broke tonight, the camera breaks, or the sound system in the church breaks, if Aaron comes to me decades later and says, I'm working to fix it, he would never have made it past the week. I mean, look at the galactic levels of incompetence that are acceptable to Tim Walz and the Democratic Party and most Republicans too. We've been working to fix this problem for decades. Remember Elon was breaking into all this stuff and finding all these programs that don't exist anymore, that people are still showing up to work at job. That was General Flynn, not Elon Musk. But Elon Musk was revealing programs that they've been working on for decades. And nobody fixes anything ever because of some purpose. And we're $38 trillion in debt. And nobody's fixing. I mean, imagine espousing this as a viable viewpoint. How dare Trump try to fix it in a year when we've been trying to fix it for decades? How stupid can you be? You think you can fix something in a year that's taken us decades to not fix, even though we're saying we're trying to fix it? There it is. All right, change the subjects again. Let's go to the border. End wokeness video breaking. Here's this big victory. Big victory. Judge Dugan found guilty. Has this got any sound on there? I don't know. It does, okay. End wokeness video. Breaking. Judge Dugan found guilty by jury for trying to help criminal migrant escape ICE. A felony obstruction. She faces up to 5 years in prison. Play it for me.
He meets his attorney in the hallway and walks towards Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan's courtroom. Along the way, he passes plainclothes federal agents who are sitting on a bench. They are there to detain him. After Flores Ruiz walks by, the agents turn to each other and appear to confirm his identity amongst themselves. But a few moments later, Judge Dugan and another judge approach the agents sitting on the bench. A criminal complaint against Dugan later said she was alerted to their presence by a court official. That complaint says during this interaction, Dugan and the agents disagreed over the type of warrant they had to arrest Flores Ruiz. According to the complaint, Dugan ordered the agents to go to the chief judge's office. Video shows her pointing them through a double door. She then turns back to speak with other agents further down the hall and orders them through the doors as well. Shortly after that, with the agents gone from the hallway, Eduardo Flores Ruiz and his attorney exit into the hallway through a different door. As they walk down the hall toward the elevators, they pass another plainclothes federal agent. Neither they nor Judge Dugan seem to have noticed at the time. That agent motions to another to follow Flores Ruiz. Security video shows Flores Ruiz exiting through a basement exit. Upstairs on the 6th floor, the other agents have left the chief judge's office and worked their way downstairs. Flores Ruiz left the building onto 9th Street. Videos of the street shows the agents catching up to him. Flores Ruiz runs across 10th Street while trying to get away, but the agents catch him and arrest him.
And not to run through this entire event again, but she caused a foot pursuit to occur in traffic. What a wonderful human being. But anyway, she was found guilty in court. It's obvious what she did. And found guilty in a blue jurisdiction, because Milwaukee certainly is not red, but found guilty because it's blatantly obvious. And by the way, people are sick of it, even Democrats. Eventually, Democrats will get sick of it. Now, whether they'll vote Republican or not, if they're smart, they would. But they will get sick of it because they're losing the jobs. They have to wait in the lines. They have to deal with this all the time. They have to deal with the criminality all the time. You look at California. There's endless. I could dedicate an entire week worth of shows to security footage of illegal migrant crime committed. I'm talking about serious home invasion burglaries. Dedicate a whole week to it in California alone. Eventually, when the problems land on your doorstep, then eventually you start voting correctly. Eventually. But anyway, she was found guilty, faces up to 5 years in prison. This is a big freaking victory. All right, more on the border. Insurrection Barbie video. Everything immigration I call border. Somali man raped 3 women. No, what country, Aaron?
Somali.
Yeah, Somali.
Yeah.
One of whom was a minor.
Of course.
Kidnapped a woman over the course of 8 years. Kidnapped a woman over the course of 8 years, and Minnesota prosecutors allowed him to plead to lesser charges, where he walked away without having to serve a single day in prison after he raped a woman, raped 3 women. Raped 3 women. One of them's a minor, and kidnapped another. He did this over a course of 8 years and never spent a day in prison for 3 rapes and a kidnapping. Imagine that. He has since, without a single day in prison, he has since raped victim number 4.
Oh my gosh.
And now the feds have taken over the state, side by side there. Guess what state it's in?
Oh.
Tim Walz's state.
Oh.
How can you feel safe as a Democratic Party woman in Tim Walz's state? Play it for me.
So now the feds are stepping in again, this time to clean up a case involving a Somali man tied to multiple kidnappings and violent sexual assaults the Minnesota prosecutors gave a sweetheart deal to. Newsmax crime correspondent Jason Matera has all the disturbing details. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mark and Charlotte. So cops in Minnesota were telling me, Jason, you've got to dig into this one. It's ugly. They weren't kidding. A guy allegedly kidnaps and rapes numerous women over a stretch of 8 years, gets a plea deal that keeps him out of prison, and then turns around and allegedly kidnaps and rapes another woman just a few months after that plea deal. It all starts in May 2024 when the Hennepin County DA's office, it's a county Minneapolis sits in, charges Abdimahat Mohammed with 6 offenses related to a serious sexual assault. Prosecutors say Mohammed met a woman on Snapchat, brought the victim to his apartment, and then raped her while threatening to kill her or her sister if she didn't comply. But when police pulled Mohammed's DNA during the course of the investigation, suddenly a whole lot of cold cases weren't so cold anymore. Authorities say his DNA matched a 2017 incident that involved a 15-year-old girl being kidnapped and raped at gunpoint. According to court documents, Mohammed offered the teen a ride, but instead of driving her to the designated location, he kidnapped her and then orchestrated a graphic assault involving other Somali men in the car. Officials say Mohammed's DNA also tied him to another rape and kidnapping case in 2018 involving a woman he also met on social media. So you have multiple kidnappings and rapes on the board. What did the Hennepin County DA's office do? They gave Mohammed a sweetheart deal. He was allowed to plead guilty to lesser sexual assault charges for 2 victims, and in return, prosecutors promised not to pursue charges for the assault of the 3rd victim. The kidnapping charge was also dismissed. In the end, Mohammed walked free without spending a single day in prison. And the result of that deal, Mark, Charlotte, it is exactly what you would expect. Authorities say that just 3 months after pleading guilty to those lesser charges, now back in the street, Mohammed kidnapped another woman in September, drove her about 70 miles to a hotel, held her captive for 6 days, and then he raped her. And even though Mohammed is now facing new state charges for this latest batch of offenses, the Justice Department isn't leaving his fate in the hands of the Hennepin County DA's office. We saw how that turned out. Federal prosecutors have stepped in and charged Mohammed with kidnapping, one involving a minor. And if he's convicted, he could be looking at life in prison.
Well, I think life in prison now on victim number 5. Now, when you're thinking, I really want to, there's somebody I'd like to import into the country and marry my daughter.
Ugh.
What? Do you remember his name? I know his last name's Mohammed, of course.
Abdi Hamat Billy Muhammad.
Abdi Hamat Billy Muhammad. So there you go. So again, let's go over it. Somehow he rapes 3 women. Get this now. And by the way, as one of those rapes, so he rapes 3 women. One was a minor and kidnapped a woman all over 8 years. And that was all linked via DNA. He gets a plea deal and walks out of Tim Walz's judicial system. Walks out. He gets another woman, commits rape number 4 after having her kidnapped for 6 days in a hotel room. One of the original rapes, he orchestrated a gang rape in the back of a car with other Somali men. That was what he walked from that one. In the original 3 rapes, one of them, he orchestrated a gang rape. And there's a kidnapping and the rape of a minor. And he walks. Explain to me why anybody would ever take an order from any of the leaders or have any respect for any judge ever in the state of Minnesota. Why? Why would you? And why in the world would you ever allow Muhammad in the country? Why? What is he going to cure a disease? Is he going to be flying to the moon? What is he going to do? He's going to rape women. That's it. How dare you say that, Tom? It makes you a rapist, a racist. No, you know what? He's a rapist. That's what he is. Again, people can say whatever they want to say, call me whatever names they want to call me. There is a very high percentage of Somali rapists. There is a very high percentage of Islamic rapists. Way higher than Christians, way higher than whites, way higher than blacks. Yep. Way higher than any Americans. There's no big black rapist culture. There's no big black white rapist. There's no big white rapist culture. There's no big black rapist culture. There is a huge Islamic rapist culture, and it needs to be addressed. Everything that's of the truth that is a problem needs to be addressed. We have a systemic rape problem in this culture with people like Muhammad. And we're not the only ones. Same thing in the UK, same thing in France, same thing in Sweden, same thing where there's been mass Somali/Islamic migration, allowed to be legal by the idiots in charge. All right, let me play these 2 in a row, guys. Breaking 9/11 video and Wall Street Apes video. Ilhan Omar, quote, she says, Somalis, remember Muhammad, keep him in your mind as I read this to you. Somalis have always seen themselves as a fabric of this nation. This is then refuted by Michael Knowles. It says Clayton Morris, guys, but it's actually Michael Knowles. He then breaks down what Somali immigrants have contributed to America. Play it for me.
Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive. Somalis have always seen themselves as a fabric of this nation. So not only are we not going anywhere, we are not going to allow anybody to make us feel less Minnesotan or less American.
Of thousands of Somalis fleeing. The U.S. had adopted a new policy, welcoming political refugees in 1980, over 2 centuries after the founding of the American nation and 360 years after the landing of the Mayflower in Plymouth Harbor, for those who are keeping count. So, by 2011, nearly 100,000 Somalis had been welcomed into the United States as refugees. What exactly did they build in America? They didn't sign the Declaration of Independence. They didn't build our military or found any universities or make any of the discoveries or invent any of the inventions that made America a global superpower and gave us the American century. They weren't even here when all that stuff happened. But that doesn't mean they haven't built anything. When Somalis began arriving in the 1990s and 2000s, they built mosques and Islamic centers and Quranic schools. They opened halal shops and grocery stores that sent remittances back to Somalia. Beyond these legal, or at least semi-legal businesses, a major source of remittances to Somalia has been the American taxpayer. Because the most impressive institution that Somalis have built in the United States is the kind of community group that perpetrated one of the most expansive cases of welfare fraud in American history. Thanks to reporting by Ryan Thorpe and Christopher Rufo at City Journal, we now know that Somali criminals stole billions of dollars in taxpayer dollars during just a single gubernatorial administration in Minnesota alone. Much of that money went straight back to Somalia, with at least some of it ending up in the hands of the Islamic terrorist group Al-Shabaab. According to a 2024 report, remittances from abroad, and especially from the United States, today account for between 30 and 50% of the Somalian economy. In other words, Somalis didn't build America. They've never really contributed anything to America. But they have managed to take, steal, and transfer enough wealth from America that, inasmuch as Somalia exists today as a nation at all, America built Somalia.
And as we're watching the video and they're talking about how we changed our policy that we are now going to import, 1980, import all of these foreigners and refugees, Aaron simply put out why. Again, why? Why are we doing this? Because it profits NGOs that personally profit politicians all along the line from 1980 until now. Everybody's getting rich off of this while we are left to suffer with the consequences of their policies. It's really as simple as that. Here's another one for you. Oh, and by the way, Spoken 007, great point in the chat about the percentage of Somalis on welfare. You go around the world, statistically speaking, almost every Somali is on some form of welfare in every country that they're in. Why were you letting them in? Would you let somebody, a lot of us, you got a crazy relative who's stolen from you. Would you just keep letting them steal from you?
No.
Your answer is no. Again, you have somebody, you've got some drug-addled relative or alcoholic, whatever, or just somebody who never works, and they come, they borrow $500 from you. They say they're going to pay you back. They never pay you back. You're going to go and and then they weasel another $200 out of you, and they never pay you back. You're going to just keep loaning them money. Why do we keep doing this? Because it is profiting and enriching politicians. Directly? Yes. Directly, Ilhan Omar. Again, when she entered politics in 2019, she was worth $65,000. She is now worth over $30 million. How? Well, I'll give you 10% of that $30 million was her, not this campaign, but the one before that. She hired her husband as a consultant and paid him $3 million out of her campaign funds. That's totally legal. Bernie Sanders is the same thing. Three House Bernie calls himself a socialist. They enrich themselves off of the political processes, off of the NGOs. And it's not just direct campaign contributions. It's not even direct campaign money going to relatives. It can be, Maxine Waters to her daughter, over $500,000 to her daughter for doing what? For being a consultant. I think it's over $1 million actually, but I'm being conservative. So that's how it all works. And all of these NGOs are fully staffed by Democrats. Again, you've heard this spiel 1 billion times on this show, but an NGO gets $10 billion. They spend $9,999 million paying themselves to distribute $1 million. That's what they do. And they're all Democrats. A lot of that money gets funneled into those campaigns that Ilhan Omar then uses to hire her husband as a consultant. That's how it all works. That's why they bring in American citizens rapists. And yes, let's just keep saying rapists. They try to shame us into a corner. How Trump calls all of these illegal migrants rapists and criminals. They are. If they cross the country, they cross the border illegally, they are all criminals. And many of them are rapists. Many of them are murderers. Many of them are insane asylums. Tren de Aragua was a prison gang, not simply just a street gang, a prison gang that they made a deal with Maduro that they would be released from prison if they would migrate to America. And Joe Biden let them all in. And you saw entire block in Aurora, Colorado, taken over by them, where they were extorting people's rents from them via AK-47s. But here's another one for you. Libs of TikTok video breaking. Marvin Morales Ortez, an illegal alien from El Salvador, was arrested in Virginia for murder just one day after being released from prison for previous crimes. Play it for me.
And we have breaking news tonight. We have just learned that the man accused of pulling the trigger in a deadly shooting just one day after he was released from jail is here in the country illegally. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Scott Thuman. On your screen right now is 23-year-old Marvin Morales Ortez. Fairfax County police say he shot and killed a man inside a Reston home today. And tonight, our Tom Rousey dug into Ortez's lengthy criminal history and found out this is not the first time he's been accused of murder. He also has new information that we just confirmed with ICE that you are hearing first on 7 News.
ICE is telling us not only was this suspect illegally in the country, they had put a detainer on him that was not honored. In addition, it turns out he's been charged with multiple crimes in the past, including murder, seemingly with no consequences. Police
in another leftist state of Virginia, which has voted in a hyper-leftist governor. But there you have it. So my question was to my guys here in the studios, how does he, of course, that's just how the picture pops up. You're thinking, who do I want to bring into the country? Marvin. I want to bring in Marvin. Yeah, that's, really? I just want to ask every leftist watching, and maybe there's a couple that stumbled upon the show. Okay, you're going to move him. If they won't move him to the house, if you wouldn't move him into your house, then you shouldn't have imported him. You should not import them into the country.
Yeah.
But you're gonna make a room out for Marvin next to your daughter's bedroom? Is that what you're gonna do? Then you shouldn't bring him in the country. I mean it exactly like that. If they are not a person that you could put in the bedroom next to your daughter, you should not import them into the country. Why would you? Can you explain it to me? For financial profit. That's why Democrats do it. So there you have another one. And how did he ever get out of prison? I don't mean how he should have stayed in prison for the rest of his life, which he should have. But I'm just saying, because this isn't his first murder. He's been accused of murder before. But innocent until proven guilty, which doesn't apply to him, because he's not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, so he should have been deported. But anyway, I digress. How does he ever even get released from prison? Everybody knows in prison he's an illegal. Oh, ICE put a detainer on him while he was in prison, and Virginia ignored the detainer so he could go out and commit a murder one day after he's released from prison. That's what it means to be a Democrat in 2025. That's what Democrats like Tim Walz, like Ilhan Omar, like AOC, like the Bidens, like Kamala Harris, like Gavin Newsom, that's what they support. Allowing this idiot into the country, putting him in prison, not honoring a detainer, letting him out for him to go and murder another person, which is what he's done. And you should have looked at him in the face from the beginning and said, I'm not letting this degenerate into the country. Obviously, low IQ, inbred moron. Let's go to the next one. Libs of TikTok video. So, Brent, let's make you happy of your home state of Ohio. Columbus, Ohio officials vow not to work with ICE. Here is the police DEI hire police chief along with the Columbus mayor. And here's what they're telling the Trump administration and ICE. Play for me.
Hi, I'm Mayor Andy Ginther.
And I'm Police Chief Elaine Bryant.
In light of the deployment of federal immigration and customs enforcement agents in our city, we understand that many of our neighbors may feel concerned for their safety. Please know that we stand with you and everyone who calls Columbus home. Since 2017, I've been clear that City of Columbus resources will not be used to help federal deportation efforts or investigations based solely on immigration status.
That includes the officers and resources of Columbus Police. Please know that CPD will not investigate Columbus residents solely based on immigration status. We will only investigate or apprehend someone if there is evidence of a crime. We cannot prevent ICE from being here, but if there is illegal or dangerous conduct, CPD officers will be present to maintain public safety. Every Columbus resident should continue to feel safe to call CPD and 911.
It's important that you know your rights and ways to keep yourself and your family safe. First, carry identification or documentation of your status with you. Stay calm and truthful when interacting with law enforcement. Know that you have the right to remain silent. Do not obstruct federal operations. Also, know that you do not have to allow immigration agents onto private property unless they can show you a warrant from a judge. Memorize the phone number of someone you can call if you need help. And know how to contact legal aid, Community Refugee and Immigration Services, and Columbus Police. We're committed to ensuring the safety and belonging of every Columbus resident, regardless of where you were born. Go to columbus.gov for more information.
All right, so there you go. Now, one thing that idiot said, that mayor said, is true. You as an illegal, not here legally, do not have to allow ICE on your private property that you don't own because you are illegal. They have no rights. They have none. They have no rights. And I'm not talking about the rights of decency or Christianity, that nobody's going to go up and execute these people. But they don't have the right to remain silent. They don't have the right to private property. They have no right to anything espoused by this idiot. And let's just ask ourselves this question about this police chief. Okay, do anybody out there, do you honestly believe that she could arrest you? If you didn't want to be arrested, do you think that this woman could arrest you? Then she shouldn't be the police chief. You're like, Tom, are you telling me that there was nobody that could defeat you in all of your years of law enforcement? Yeah, there was. Listen, I got shucked off the back of a guy running from me like he was a middle linebacker. Okay, I jumped on his back and he just shucked me. And I'm not a small person. So I could easily classify him as bigger, stronger, and faster than me. Luckily, there was two of us, and one of us had an angle, and we all ended up in a giant pepper tree patch.
Oh, yeah.
So he got arrested, but he brushed me off like I wasn't even there. So I get it. But you know what? Most of the time, I won. I mean, and again, this woman couldn't arrest anybody. Am I saying no women can? No, I'm not. I'm saying that this woman, we all know, can't arrest anybody. Why is she police chief? Why in the world is this woman a police chief? Oh, I know why. Because Columbus wants to check boxes. Oh, we've hired a black woman. Oh, we are now high on the Democratic Party virtue scale. Who cares? You're in Ohio, man. Ohio goes red every time. But anyway, so they are aiding and abetting sedition. They are helping people to evade ICE. That's a crime. These people need to go to jail. This woman needs to go to jail. I don't care if she's a police chief. I don't care if she calls it racism. She needs to go to jail. All right, let's debunk another lie here. Let's switch the subjects off the border. Johnny Midnight video. So let's go back to the boat hoax. Most of you have probably seen this already, but I cannot resist showing it. This is Johnny Midnight's asking. Don't like what Trump is doing with the drug boats. He just blew up another two of them, by the way, which is great. Great job. Yeah, that's great. Good stuff. Well, okay, so we've heard Chuck Schumer come out. You know, he said Gang of Eight's meeting on this, and I'm going to be there. And he's morally appalled by all of these things. It was Chuck Schumer that wrote the bill in the 80s that allows Trump the right to blow up the drug boats. He wrote the bill in the 1980s that Trump is using to blow up the boats right now. Play it for me.
This is the Maritime Drug Law Enforcement Act of 1986, authored by a member of Congress in 1986 from the state of New York. His name, Chuck Schumer. He wrote the law that passed almost unanimously that makes it legal to blow drug boats out of the water. It happened in the 80s a lot, in the 90s a lot. Go ahead, look it up, folks. Chuck Schumer, the author of this bill that made what we're doing with Venezuelan drug boats fully legal. We don't need permission from the rest of the world. Chuck Schumer gave us that in 1986.
I know none of us would ever understand it, but I was 18 in 1986, graduated high school then. So if you wrote a bill that enables an action that you are now protesting, would you not at least acknowledge it? That's like Anthony Fauci creating COVID-19 and then never acknowledging the fact that he did. So that is the absolute audacity of these people. And again, not realizing the culture that now there's a million different independent journalists. That was Newsmax, I think it was own. But anyway, so they're not necessarily independent, but there's so many more news outlets now. You're going to be found out. Chuck Schumer wrote the legislation that enables Trump to blow the drug boats out of the water and now complains about it. That's what it means to be a Democrat in 2025. Speaking of that, let's go to this Western Lensman video. Intrepid, you can side by side this so everybody knows what I'm talking about. Intrepid presidential health reporter Jake Tapper, who wrote a book. Remember, he wrote a book about the decline, the cognitive decline of Joe Biden,
right?
And claimed that he didn't know the entire 4 years while he was interviewing Joe Biden. And then, but you know, he said, why did he say he didn't know? Because nobody told me. Somebody needs to tell you. That would be like it's pouring rain outside and you walk out there in the rain and stand in the rain. Why are you standing in the rain? Nobody told me it was raining. You saw that it was raining. That's how stupid these people are. But again, it's just not abject stupidity. It's all narrative and agenda driven. But in a Western Lensman video, intrepid presidential health reporter Jake Tapper has the CNN doctor show up again on to claim that Trump's speech performance is evidence that he's unwell. Play for me.
Dr. Jonathan Reiner, who served as the late Vice President Dick Cheney's cardiologist for years, was among the many observers alarmed by what he saw from President Trump last night, his behavior. He posted on X, quote, "I'm seriously concerned about the health of the president," and adding, "No one should be happy to see the president like this. He looks unwell." And Dr. Reiner joins us now. He's a professor of medicine and surgery at George Washington University and a CNN medical analyst. Dr. Reiner, what specifically was it about President Trump that you found so concerning watching him last night, especially in the context of, you know, he gives outrageous speeches and has been for years?
Well, it wasn't the content. I thought the content was just standard fare that we've become accustomed to, but it was the way it was delivered. It was delivered in with a manic cadence, almost a frantic cadence. It was as if you felt like you were listening to a podcast on 2X. And that kind of manic delivery was very, very disturbing, very pressurized speech. And as the address went on, the cadence of his remarks became quicker. And we've never seen the president, like that. He seemed almost frantic, and it was disturbing to watch. It was disturbing because he's the commander in chief.
All right, so there you go. So because Trump spoke quickly, wouldn't that be indicative of a sharp mind? Speaking quickly, because how did Joe Biden speak? Duh. But anyway, duh. But anyway, okay. And side by side, what did Jonathan Reiner say during those times? I mean, what did he say? Nothing. He never said one word that there was any cognitive decline with Joe Biden, but yet is talking about a cognitive decline with Donald Trump because he speaks quick and has a manic cadence. Exactly what health issue is that indicative of? What health issue is a manic cadence a symptom of? Just curious. Because here's what he said about Joe Biden. May's video. Play it for me.
Does anything about this warrant the questions that, of course, we're seeing predictably in some quarters about his fitness for office?
No, not at all. Look, people have sort of this mistaken opinion that the president is like an astronaut and we're spinning them around in centrifuges to prove their fitness. But what we really ask for is mental sharpness and the ability to carry out the duties of his office. And I think the president has shown that. But the president is 80, and 80-year-old people fall.
So Aaron just told me Trump's been speaking for over an hour right now. What, North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina.
So Jonathan Reiner has forsaken all dignity, all integrity, all of his oath of office to do no harm, oath of being a doctor of do no harm, and sacrificed it on the altar of being a very dutiful Democratic puppet with the Democratic Party's hand up his anal puppet chute. That's who Jonathan Reiner has decided to be. You got to see this one. Video for me, video of the night. Speaking of police chiefs, we've already illustrated our first favorite police chief of the night out of Columbus, Ohio. Let's go to our other favorite police chief out of D.C. Remember Pammy Smith, who had no idea what a chain of command was? Remember that? Remember that she was actually asked, "Are you running that up the chain of command?" And she said, "What is that?" And somehow she's become a police chief without any a very large police agency, without any understanding of what a chain of command is. Well, she's been fired or forced into resigning. Unclear why, but allegedly for altering criminal statistics. which she was ordering her underlings to do, altering criminal statistics so that it appeared that they had less crime than what they had, which Joe Biden, that was a Biden administration thing countrywide, but they were doing it in D.C. also. So Nick Sorter video, D.C.'s DEI police chief Pamela Smith just had a screaming meltdown while giving her resignation speech. What does he ever give resignation speeches anyway? This is what the Democratic Party have turned us into, where you now give a resignation speech. You know what you do when you resign? You resign and walk out of the building. But this is what the Democratic Party has turned us into. It harkens back to the whole gender reveal stuff too. Everybody's celebrating crap. I mean, you know what? You had sex, you created a kid. Okay, it's no big accomplishment. I mean, do you have to have a whole party where there's puffs of smoke going in the crowd? I'm going up there. Pink, blue. Do we really have to do that? I mean, because you had sex, you created a kid. You're like, Tom, what about you? No, what I did with mine was private. I was like, okay, we went to find out what my son and daughter were at the sonogram with his and her grandparents. That's it. We didn't have some giant celebration. It's part of this whole ridiculous culture of celebrating things that are not accomplishments.
Yeah.
Like resigning. So you don't give a speech when you resign. You resign, pack up your crap, and leave and start putting in applications. That's what you do. But anyway, this is one of the weirdest things ever. And you got to see it. Play it for me.
Never would I compromise my integrity. Never would I compromise 28 years in law enforcement for a few folk who couldn't stand to be held accountable. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it again. So I'm going to the Bible when I say this to my haters. F you. The same folks who said in that report that they changed their numbers, and I did not. The report is very clear. I did not direct anyone. You should investigate those folks.
According to the people that she's referring to, she did direct them to alter crime numbers so that made it look like felonious crimes were going down instead of up, which they were during her entire reign. Of course, because she's useless, because she's a DEI hire. And again, how would she ever arrest one soul? Ever. She is not physically capable. Therefore, she should not be a police chief. If they are rapists and looters, they shouldn't be allowed in the country. Life is so easy, isn't it? All right, that's it. 10-12. Wow, lots of people in the rant tonight. Thank you guys so much. Those Jesus people setting it up, $100. Thank you so much. Jules, 21 hours, $50. Thank you so much. Robin Early, $25. Thank you so much. Dead Pal, $50. $20. The great T1AU, $20. Thank you so much. Hefner, $20. Thank you so much. Tim L. T-Bird, $10. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys so much in the rant. See you in 2 weeks, everybody. Stick around for the post game. It is awesome. You're going to love it. Lots of Christmas stuff in there. Stick around for it. Love you guys. Still doing church every Sunday. You want to see Aaron and I, Foundation Church, every Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Eastern time, every Sunday. A church that's just like this podcast, to sum it up. But anyway, stick around for the post game. You're going to love it. Love you guys. See you in 2 weeks. And Merry Christmas. And one last time, God bless you. How many of you right now are in the process of falling away? I know nobody preaches it. You know why nobody preaches it? Because the devil's got a hold of their tongue and they're motivated by church growth instead of gospel preaching. That's the problem. They're motivated by quote unquote success instead of doing what God has called them irrevocably to do, which is to preach the gospel. Woe to me if I do not preach the gospel, said Paul.
Have you ever had a question you were too afraid to ask? Or a thought you knew everyone was thinking but no one dared to say out loud? Welcome to the Hope Hotline, where nothing's off limits and we say what others won't. Real talk, raw truth, your questions finally answered.
Thanks for watching the Tom Laipply Podcast. We appreciate your support. As a special thank you, when you donate $25 or more, you will get a free TLP koozie. Enjoy your favorite cold drink while tuning in to our latest takes on current events. Your support keeps us going. Donate now to claim yours.
Use your hands now. Don't touch him. Do not touch anything.
The season to deport 'em, fa la 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 la. We love ICE and we support 'em, fa la 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 la. Send them on one-way vacations, fa la 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 la.